Hello, I'm Cheyenne Turner, and I want to welcome you to the Eclectic Viewpoint and an evening of conversation with Dr. George Rodonaia. Dr. Rodonaia is a medical doctor and a scientist from the former Soviet Union who had a very unusual near-death experience. But before we get into your near-death experience, let's get a little bit of your background. I know you hold many degrees. You have a doctorate in medicine, theology, psychology, Oriental languages, a wide variety there. Give me a little bit of your background, how you started in this.
My degrees I received after my experience.
Oh,
but
okay.
After 1976, my capacity of learning and tool knowledge increased maybe 300%, and I began to learn languages easily, to grasp the scientific view, and changed my viewpoints on different sciences, and one of them was medical science, which I represented as a psychiatrist.
What were you doing then when you, or how did you end up on the hit list for the KGB? I know that's how you ended up. What were you doing then? What was your business? Or
I was 14 years old when I got that claim as a dissident.
A dissident.
I wrote a poem about independence, and this poem became a little bit out of hand popular, and KGB was furious and angry, and they interrogated me, and they kicked out from school, they locked me in prison, they beaten me to bleeding, and
at 14 years old?
At 14 years old. And then that was the beginning of my inner fight and hate toward that organization. And I began to work harder on my knowledge, because I knew I cannot fight with them with the power of my muscle. I can fight with them with power of my knowledge. And thank God I have a lot of help through books. I read a lot. And I was 15, I entered the university.
So how long did they keep you in prison?
Oh, I was only 2 days. But
it was long enough to beat you up.
Long enough to beat me. And I entered the university when I was 15 years old. And I had my master's degree when I was 19. I was 22 when I had my first PhD.
Oh.
And
so what was that in?
That was after my death experience, but before that I already had my master's degree.
And what was it, in psychology?
It was in psychology of languages. Then I got my PhD in psychiatry. And then
were you working on a
neuropathology?
Neuropathology.
Yeah.
You were working on an underground newspaper also, weren't you?
Yes, I was helping in publishing and editing the underground newspaper, which was called Iberia. Iberia.
And that's sort of what really caused them to try to run you down with the car, or?
In 1976, I was ready to depart to United States.
Oh, so you had applied for
yes,
a visa?
And not only visa, I had already received the invitation from Yale University, and my visa was signed by one of the most powerful people in the world. It was Jimmy Carter, Henry Kissinger, and you know, the government couldn't tell me no, and I had to go. They knew that. But I had with me, in my knowledge, the new inventions which in science we had in neurotransmitters about what we spoke before.
And you were working in the psychiatric hospital, weren't you, at that time?
I didn't work in clinical psychiatry. I worked as a research psychiatrist. It's neuropathology which I worked on was based to discover the memory functions and the functions of neurotransmitters and how we can increase them to help memory and atherosclerosis, for example, and mostly I worked with epilepsy. And I had the team who worked on ATP, adenosine triphosphate, at that time as a energizer to fight against cancer. And mainly we thought about brain cancer and other metastases from brain cancer, how this neurotransmitter can energize the glucomates and separate chromosomes to save from regeneration. And that part was pretty new in 70s, you know. And if I departed to United States, I could take it with me. And I knew something else. I knew how they treated the patients in psychiatric hospitals. Of course, I didn't work there, but I had access to be there, and I saw what they did. For example, invention of oxytocin as a new injection for the ill was the new part of work of our psychiatrists, and that was the main part what they were afraid that I was to talk about in West.
And what kind of an injection was this? I didn't know.
Oxytocin is a medicine which in United States they use for cattle.
Oh,
That's called love medicine. We all have that chemical inside of our body. For example, our love toward mother or child or any love feeling is based on chemicals.
Yes.
And this chemical is oxytocin. We create that within us. But if you will be injected with that, it means it increases your love feeling.
Yes.
And through psychotherapy and hypnosis, if you will be projected to one direction and increased and injected with the injection which creates oxytocin in your body and increases your capacity toward love. You know, hey, you hate communists, now you love them.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
I've never heard of this.
Yeah, I don't know how they will do it now, but...
So did they also have a chemical that could also make people hate or want to fight or be violent?
No.
They didn't have that?
No, that's it's not. It wasn't in my. I don't know about that. Maybe KGB had something about that done, but I'm not sure that it was done in my area of research. What my research was based is neurotransmitters and mainly with ATP, adenosine triphosphate. But about oxytocin, that was the new invention, and we were all excited.
Yes,
and
that
it
would
was
be
very interesting, and that's why they decided to kill me.
Because they didn't want you to bring that to this country?
They didn't want me to take it with me. I mean, I didn't take anything with me, but it could be that I could talk about that.
Yes.
And you know, Cold War time.
Oh, sure.
They didn't want any bad publicities and you know, increase. Maybe they didn't care about that, but there was their loss. It means there was two powers who fought with each other. If one runs to another part, it means you lose.
Yeah, you lose face.
You lose face toward yourself. And anyway, there was a lot of things involved, and they almost did it. They almost killed it, but as strange it is, I'm so thankful for that. That was an incredible experience. It changed all my life.
Changed your life. So they ran you down in a car, right? You were on the sidewalk?
I was in sidewalk approximately 2 meters from the main road. And this car jumped on the sidewalk.
Mind of what you want.
You did even my suitcase and hit me. and I flew approximately 10 meters, and then he ran over me and stopped. Of course, I don't remember this all.
Yeah.
I was already out of conscious, but as people said, that's how it happened. But I saw that post factum, or I saw this after.
You saw
afterwards. I saw all what happened with me.
Oh.
I saw it as a reviewing picture, you know.
Oh, I see. Yeah, when you went through your life review,
yes,
you saw it.
I saw that. But at that moment, I haven't seen anything. I lost conscious immediately. I don't remember even flying.
Well, take us step by step then. What happened when you, all the way through, you're ending up in the morgue and everything?
I was taken to morgue and I was declared dead. Resuscitation or rehabilitation or any work which they could do, it didn't work. Defibrillation or shock, didn't work. The direct injection into the muscle of heart didn't work. Atropine, anything what they could do, you know, didn't work. And so I was declared dead. They took me to morgue, and it was Friday night. And I was there Saturday, Sunday, and Monday morning they began my autopsy. And they opened my abdomen, and they took hematoma, and
Southern way of saying that.
Yes, and I opened my eyes. So materially, that was what's happened on the earthly dimension.
Oh, I bet they were shocked, weren't they?
Oh my, yes.
They
not only the people who operated, but approximately 15 people became immediate Christians.
Oh, really?
They believed in God already.
Yes.
So nobody have seen that for 3 days coming back.
That is truly amazing. So the cold storage that they had you in, about what temperature was it?
You know, I never researched that because there is not stabilized temperature. Then thank God, maybe that's not. I don't know. I never wanted to come back, honestly, to life. But it's so interesting now. It's becoming when you share and you help people through that. You know what I experienced that. Now I am thankful to God that freezer or refrigerator didn't work
as well as Well, if it had been
because
totally,
we don't know. I don't know how it's happened that you know, the glands who has to develop the poison didn't develop. The you know, muscles who had to be collapsed didn't collapse. Lungs were collapsed. That's what I only had in bad shape. Everything else worked perfectly, and I survived pretty well. Only 9 months I was in hospital, and
for 9 months.
9 months, and mostly for my lungs, because lungs were in bad shape.
Did the lungs collapse from the accident or
from being frozen?
Being frozen.
Approximately 3 days I was in cool area, and you know, lungs were shrinked, and you have to. I had done a lot of procedures, pumping inside of my lungs. You know, that was the most horrible experience. Coming back to life and then experiencing this pain, because no painkillers could help. It was very painful experience, but 9 months I went through that.
But probably because of the extremely cold temperature, that did keep your brain from becoming.
Brain. I'm not sure that brain is dying so easy. Through 17 years of experiences and work with sharks, dolphins, and human, you know, cancer abuse, and a lot of experiences which we in lab had in Georgia, in Soviet Georgia. I have feeling, or how we call it, I have not theory, of course, I don't want to say so big words as a theory, but I think brain is not dying very easily. Even if it stopped receiving the oxygen, the cover of brain begins to secure the inside, and the moist brain is a liquid crystal, and the moist is keeping brain from physical death immediately. I think that's pretty interesting that brain wouldn't die so easy, even if I was not in cool area. I think more danger was based on lungs, on liver, on you know, on other parts.
The reason I was referring to that, I know I've read about children that have fallen into water and had been there for a long, long time, and they say because the water was so cold that they didn't end up with brain damage.
Yes, that helped brain to survive.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Okay, so then you were in the hospital for 9 months? And
I was in hospital for 9 months, and then I went back to university, of course. I never attempted to go back to United States.
You thought that was it, huh?
Yeah,
we're going to try that again.
But that experience brought me to knowledge that I had to help people. I began to study the pathology, neuropathology, study the psychiatry, and you know, I was involved in a lot of things which made me more interested to do, and then I became a believer. I believed in God, and I wanted to find what was that. And I began to study theology, and I read a lot about religious, organized religion. I wasn't very happy through the organized religion because every organization has its, you know, politics, and I hate that. But mainly I was interested in theology, and I continued studied in seminary. I became ordained priest of Orthodox Church. I was consecrated as an archpriest. I had circle of churches and supervised work in churches. You know, it was pretty interesting life. I had my show. 45 minutes twice a week. I was
a television show?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was hosting the psychological research group who were coming to our club to talk about what's happening new in the world, and I was inviting some interesting people next time, and you know, it was pretty interesting. 45 minutes giving people knowledge and news. Mostly at last 2-3 years it became politically involved, and Gorbachev's time I had a lot of anger. Not me, but the surrounder had a lot of anger against each other, and the factor of animosity began to be created in Georgia, and some of the nationalistic leaders decided to fight about Georgia without any other nationals, you know, nationalistic ethnical groups, and it was impossible, and I had a lot of enemies because of that, even in church and in nationalistic movement. When I was involved so deep in that movement, I had a lot of enemies because I'm against, you know, isolating nations from nations, and one nation never belongs to itself because it will die. Not because physical death. It will die psychologically. It won't enrich itself. It will grow inside the anger, and it will destroy spiritually itself. And that's what's happened in many races and many nations, and that's why I fought. And I spoke about that on TV, and in November '88 I was robbed. You know, they came to my house, the KGB took all from my house. They shot me in knee and in head, and they thought I was dead, but it's not so easy to kill George, you know. And I have a big scarf here now. Bullet didn't go through brain, didn't go through scarf, it's stuck there. Once more, something made in Russia was bad. That refrigerator is now gone. Or bullet, I don't know, one of them. I survived once more, and I was eager to run away somewhere. And once more I tried to do this through Jewish community. I had a lot of friends, but I wasn't Jew, and that's why nobody could help me. I had friends in Jerusalem, and they sent me invitations, but nobody let me go. In Australia, in I don't know, in a lot of places. Only way was still from United States. And once more, my friend from Longview, Texas, the lady whose name is Millicent Cantor, 15 years she tried to help me. And at least several times she was almost there. But we couldn't leave the country with my wife because I didn't have any job. And then she, through the government of United States, I became accepted as a permanent resident of United States. I got my card, it's called Alien, you know.
Alien,
Wow, I like that. Resident Alien card, and I became eligible to depart. But I couldn't take my family because I didn't have a job. So once more, through the help of that wonderful lady, she went to her own church and said that I'm clergy and maybe they will offer me something. And the minister of her church, minister of United Methodist Church, decided to do this, you know, Christian thing, and he helped me. He offered me a job, and he hired me. Even I couldn't speak any English. He hired me in Methodist Church, and I could take my family and depart. In December 1989, I escaped Russia with a free home run to Longview, Texas.
So that's how you ended up in Texas?
Yes.
How interesting.
That's why I was in Methodist Church, and the only job which I got was in Methodist Church. I tried to find some help in the scientific community, but you know, this is very tied, materialistic place. Universities don't have money to hire new persons, to begin even new studies. But they always invited me as a visiting professor. For example, a year and a half I was in Harvard. I was in Emory in Atlanta, Georgia. Several times invited in West Georgia University in Atlanta. I was in North Carolina in Duke University. I was in different big and good universities. I was in Berkeley as a visiting professor, visited several times and read several lectures about some psychiatric research or psychological research in Harvard Psychology of Theology. A lot of places were very helpful spiritually, but they couldn't help me with the jobs because the only job I got was in church, and I'm thankful that that helped me to go through these 5 years of survival in United States. As I said before, I was a political slave, and I became now economical slave. But economical slavery is painful, but you have hope that you'll write a book, or you will
and you do have a book that's coming out next year, right?
Yes, I'm trying to finish that book, and I'm even driving and taping.
And you're going to be interviewed next week by 2020?
Yes. And
Barbara Walters?
and I will have, oh yes, I was interviewed in a lot of shows, and I went through that, but that's not my main, you know, program or purpose of life.
Are you wanting to get back in the research field?
Yes, that's
something I want to talk to you about in just a few minutes. But before we get too far away from your near-death experience, I know some of the people that see this will want to know what happened to you on the other side for 3 days, because that must have been truly remarkable.
If you have seen this movie or tape on Life After Life with Raymond Moody and Daniel Brinkley and me and a lot of other experiencers, I spoke about being in darkness, then in light.
Did you see a tunnel and go to the light, or was your how was yours different?
My first discovery was darkness. My first awareness or first revelation of myself was darkness. I discovered myself in total darkness, pressed under the pressure of some kind of materia, some kind of matter which I couldn't recognize. It wasn't air, it wasn't anything, I wasn't in body, and I was. You know, the main fear came of unknown darkness. It's so scary.
Were you aware of being out of your body, or did you seem to be inside your body?
No, I didn't have any body. I didn't feel anything.
Were you floating, or?
I wasn't floating. I was in matter, some kind of dark matter.
I see.
Pressed inside, in pressure, and in scary situation. I was scared to death, and I was afraid. What's happening? Where am I? And I felt that I am. But how can I be when I don't have a body?
Yeah.
How can I be when I'm not in materia? I am, but how? Then I said, okay, I'm thinking. If I think, it means I am. If I'm thinking and I am, why shouldn't I think positively?
So you actually thought of that?
I was psychiatrist.
Yeah,
you
were
studying, you know.
Right.
I was MD, and you know, I had to go through that, you know. I had to go. I don't feel that I'm dead. I didn't feel that I was dead or something happened with me. I even don't remember this car accident or anything. You know, I'm in darkness.
Yeah.
Why? What's happening with me? Where is my body? Or why I'm in darkness? And positive. What can be positive in darkness? Only light. And the light which I saw was an incredible challenge for my knowledge, because it's not because it's beauty or anything else. This is scientifically unbelievable and unexplainable. How can it be light absolutely separated from darkness, being isolated from darkness, not piercing it, not going through darkness, but being outside of darkness?
Wow.
And I could see it. I didn't have an eye. How could I see? I don't have sensors. How can I see? But I saw light beyond the darkness. And that was an incredible experience. As a scientist, I wasn't sure that I wasn't crazy. Because I thought it's impossible. If it is impossible, it means I cannot see it. But if I see it, it means something is wrong with me. And this wrong is that I'm hallucinating, or I'm under the drug, or something happened with me. I'm in darkness, total darkness. I don't have a body. but I exist, and I can see this light beyond this darkness, which is as a whole showing somewhere far away in darkness little round light. It cannot be, because light has to come to me, to my eye, and then I can recognize it. But it's not coming to me. There is no need, there is no laser line. There is nothing. Light is isolated there, and darkness is here. That was an incredible experience. I was so scared of that. I couldn't understand why it's happening. But there was light. That was main what I wanted, and I wanted to be in that light. If there is a light, I didn't care why it was. I wanted to be in light. But during all this time, I don't know, maybe it was second, maybe it was 2 seconds, maybe it wasn't in time. I don't know, there is no time dimension there. I was thinking, how can it be the light is separated from that darkness? And that's how I began to move. And I felt the movement, but it's not that I'm moving up, down, right, left, or toward the light. I am moving, I feel the movement, and suddenly I feel that light is so little hole, how can I go through that? But as far as I wasn't concerned, I didn't have a body, maybe something will happen, another miracle, I was in light. And do you think what was the first thing I thought about in the light? To find a way back in darkness. I wanted to see where is that hall back to darkness, but there was nothing. There is only light. Light was painful, horrible. It was so painful I cannot describe the pain of the light.
Really?
Yeah, it was pressing. It was very depressing. It was very powerful, and I was scared of that light. I wanted to hide somewhere, but I couldn't. And strangest thing, I thought, I don't have an eye. Why is that light so bright and entering into me? Then
did you see a being or anything there?
No.
Nothing?
The light began to enter into me. Now, another question, me. What is me? I don't have a body. How could it enter into me? And now I can describe that can be an astral body which I received after death, and there the light is coming in, but that's all metaphysical things which I never have heard, and I never heard worked on that.
Did you have any kind of a spiritual background at all before this happened to you?
Absolutely, I never believed in God.
Oh, okay.
No, I was not atheist, I was idealist who believed in Big Bang and idea. You know, I believed that there was first idea or thought, idea, then some idea created everything, Big Bang, so wonderfully, symmetrically that created this universe, galaxies, and all what is around us. And it's near to Buddhistic thoughts. I was aware of Christian thinking too, but I never believed in God. And of course, my thought was not that I'm dead. I didn't know that I was dead. I didn't know what was happening. These little bubbles are running around, you know, and these bubbles are dividing as a molecules into atoms, atoms into neutrons, protons, electrons, you know, and that's going constant movement around me. Chaos, horrible chaos. And I'm thinking, my God, where am I? And then I'm thinking, maybe I'm in the same bubble. I don't want to be a bubble. I want George. Where is George? Where is my body? You know, they say these bubbles are moving, and they're going around, and they're moving into eternity. And then I understood that's chaos has its symmetry. This chaos has a spiral movement, and it's moving into one or another direction. And that's incredible, beautiful view.
So there's order and chaos.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Chaos is an order itself. And that's amazing feeling which I discovered several ways. Life after life is very interesting experience which I discovered. And
did you go to a city of light or see anything like that?
No. I didn't have
or hear music or
oh yes, I heard. Oh yes, I heard. I had incredible music. I heard some kind of I can give through my mind only some kind of arpeggio. You know, I cannot bring it together as a music, but oh, that was amazing part of experience when I heard the music.
So then, did you end up seeing? When did you see your life review? Or
okay, I began to relax little by little when after light entered into me. You know, I felt warm, I felt love, I felt rightness of existence there. I felt that was incredible to be in the light. I felt all this, and then I saw my body. I saw how it's happened, what's happened. I saw what my wife was thinking about, what she was doing. I saw people's thoughts. Oh, that was an incredible experience. I could see any thought people have. It's not the seeing the picture, it's comprehending, it's grasping the idea what they think about. I knew everything about everybody because their thoughts were open for me as a book.
Was it like you could hear it, or you could just actually just feel it?
It's grasping it, understanding it. For example, I can see this water in the glass, yeah? But if there is not the view of that, but you will explain what it is, you know, I will see that in my imagination.
Yeah.
Even that is different how I saw it. I saw it not as a written text, I saw it not as a movie, I saw what they were thinking from inside, telepathically. How? A lot of things we don't know. And I don't know how, but it was so.
So did you ever see any kind of a being at all, or anything that gave you any feeling of...
I mean, I have not seen anybody living beyond.
Did you see anyone that had been close to you that had died before? Anything like that?
I saw them as alive. I saw their lives, and I participated in their lives as a part, but I have not seen them dead. I have never seen any dead person. I mean, dead. I mean, as a spirit coming to me and talking to me or giving any messages, no.
Okay. And
I saw my parents, how they were killed.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yeah, I saw that. And that was another incredible experience. I was so happy that they were killed. Because all my life is a paradoxal, but all my life I was grieving that, you know, they abandoned me and ran away. I didn't know that they were killed. I didn't believe in that.
So you were an orphan?
In reality, yes, I was 7 months old when my parents were killed. And I was adopted by family, which died too. I was 9 years old when I adopted. My father died, and I was 13 when my adopted mother died. And she told me before her death about this, that I was adopted. I didn't know. And
so you wondered then what had happened to your real parents?
yes, and I never believed that they were killed.
Were you told they were killed before?
Yeah, my adopted mother told me that they were killed, and that's why they adopted me. And I never believed in that. I thought they escaped to England or somewhere else and abandoned me. But when I saw my birthday, then I saw my mother, then I saw my father, then I saw that we went to Moscow. I saw my adopted parents, how they talked, about what they talked, what they agreed for. They went to a meeting, and on meeting they were killed.
By whom?
KGB.
Wow. So what were they doing?
They were political dissidents.
Were they? So you got that honestly then?
Oh yes, I was born in Shanghai, China.
Oh.
My parents were political dissidents, and they worked on Trans-Siberian Railroad as that was their last the definition, or how we call it, when they sent them to work as a labor from Gulag.
And so was that where this couple adopted you, or did they bring you back to Russia?
In Moscow. In 1956, Khrushchev gave to several dissidents freedom, and they were led to come to their countries. I mean, to their places, to their place where they live.
To come home.
Come home. And my parents came to Moscow to ask the government of England to depart to England, because my great-great-grandparents, I mean, my great-aunts came to Georgia from Yorkshire, England.
Oh,
And they wanted to find their relatives and go back to England. They couldn't find any papers, bureaucracy. Her Majesty's country couldn't find any explanations, and while this, they were killed.
Okay, so you saw that then when in the Life Review or whatever?
Yes, and I saw how they were killed, and I was happy. Of course, I was sorry that they were killed, but I was happy that they were good people.
So, because you thought they deserted you.
Yeah, they didn't desert me. During that time, as you know, I received a lot of information. How I received that, it can be explained. For example, you are in your room and you have 10,000 TV screens. And from all these screens you are receiving information. And you only sit there and receive all information. It goes in your brain, it stays there, and you know all what you received from these 10,000 screens. But the exciting part is that you not only receive that information, you participate in information, you experience the information. You can go to each screen simultaneously together and be there.
Wow.
It's not as I'm only I'm describing this allegorically. It's not how it's happened.
Yeah.
It's not through screen, but I could be everywhere in any experience which knowledge I received.
Did you see any things to come like Daniel and Brinkley did, or was
I
yours
saw a
more?
lot of interesting developments on the earth, but it's not my job to talk about that. My business.
Okay. So.
Developments will go anyway its way, and it will happen. We want that or not. The world is going to be changed, and it's going to be changed in good way. Spiritual development of humankind will overcome the material development. The greediness will be changed. Poverty into prosperity, and this is time when prosperity of humankind inside of human will grow, and love will overcome the stupidity of humankind. And you know, one of my professors told me once that you know, George, if you want to have a job which you will never lose, write about human stupidity, because it's endless. You will have all lifetime job, because there is no end of stupidity.
I agree with that.
And that will be, you know, changed, because I believe 21st century has pretty good perspective to create this century of spiritual developments, because in hundreds of thousands of years before, humankind lived differently. They lived more and they lived full lives. Now, when humankind is interested more in rumors and bad happenings, and when happiness comes when you see on TV that somebody is killed and robbed and you are not, you know, that's what comes into your mind, that hey, thank God it's not me, that's somebody else, you know. That will be changed. There will come the new time, which in Revelation is said very well, time when love will be the dominating winner, and I believe in that.
That's wonderful. So did you see like bad times coming before that happens?
I don't believe in bad times. You know, how can it be worse than it was for me?
Right, you've had some pretty bad times there.
Yeah.
I think I heard that while you were in this 3-day period that you actually traveled to someone's home and saw what was wrong with this child that was very ill. Was that right?
Oh, okay. That's not the traveling to home. I was everywhere whoever thought about me, simultaneously. I could
so all they did was think about you and you'd be there?
Yeah, I was there. I didn't want to be there, but if they thought, I was there. It was not necessary me to be there, but I was there. They could think about me good or bad, it doesn't matter. They thought about me and I was there. And I saw their thoughts and I saw what they were thinking. And one of them was my friend's wife who was delivering child. And she delivered this baby, incredible, beautiful, it's grown and wonderful child. It's my son's age approximately. And, you know, I was so happy that child was born, you know, and some excitement. And she was so happy when child was born. And she said that, my God, it's such a happiness God gave to her. She thought about that, that George is dead and child is born. Why? Because George is a troublemaker, you know. If I was in trouble, her husband was in trouble. Now she is free. 2 rabbits are killed together, you know.
Gone
2 birds.
Yes.
Yeah. Child is born and George is dead. Yeah. And she was happy. But child began to cry, you know, and cries and cries and days and second day. And I came and said, hey, don't cry. I said, well, you cry anyway. No, but you understand why you cry.
You said this to the child?
Yeah, the child stops crying. And this doctor looks, says, you know, eyes are coming out, child stops crying. And these parents are, you know, tired with this crying. Everybody looks, what's happened? They don't know why child stopped crying. And I telepathically received the message from child that, hey, I'm crying because my hip is twisted.
The hip?
Hip is twisted. And nobody knows about that. It's not broken, but it's twisted.
Oh.
And I said, then cry if it will help, you know. And child continued to cry. And that was an incredible experience to meet with this child's mind, you know. She doesn't remember this anymore. But,
and that's amazing because the child was thinking.
Oh,
and you,
yeah. Oh, my God. Child, from before child is born, child already has in fetus, how you call fetus? Child's
in the fetus?
In the fetus. Child already has mind. It's a spirit. It doesn't have personality. It's not soul yet received. When it's born, it receives the soul. It's completely child, no human. But it is a spirit and body. Its 2-dimensional being is already there. You have to begin to work with this child while it is still in fetus.
So then it's very important what you say to the child while it's in development then, before it's actually born.
Yes, absolutely. You have to work with the child before it comes to the life, with the soul, spirit and body to be healthy and to have energizing future.
That's very interesting because I have read this, that some doctors advocate actually talking to the child and using some kind of a stethoscope or some kind of a little horn-like thing.
That's very old system.
In music.
Even Solomon says to his grandson, is this child ready to receive the information? Solomon, the king of Israel, and tells that if it is 3 months old, it's late to work with it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't remember that. That's in the Bible then?
Oh, yes.
You've got quite a background in theology. That's another whole discussion that we could have sometime about when
With pleasure.
I would love it. We'll have to do another program.
With pleasure.
You were teaching at Harvard about the actual psychology of theology. Yes. So what are your plans now? What are you hoping to do? I know you just finished this Congress of Enlightenment.
Yeah, that was pretty successful.
What was that about?
That we gathered together all thinkers and brought together all religious and philosophers and thinkers to bring together the idea of love, faith, and hope, and to share it to each other. And we developed pretty good communication and pretty good Congress, and I hope it will continue the work. The main idea of Congress is to bring these diverse thoughts together, not to create something as an institution, not to change each other's minds, but to make each other to live in prosperity and love.
And you also are wanting to unite spirituality with science, correct?
Yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to continue work on shark research, to work on shark's liver and helping cancer abuse, drug abuse, and a lot of thoughts, and I hope there will be people who will help with this development. This country is rich with thinkers and helpers, and I hope there will be somebody who will decide to help me to develop these events.
Well, we'll certainly put the word out there that you need a grant or something, because I would like to see some of the research that you were doing in the Soviet Union continued here. Some of that is fascinating, what you were doing, things that we aren't even doing here. So, well,
my message to the all your viewers and friends, I want to tell is that in the I think the end of our conversation, that, you know, be patient with all which is unresolved in your heart. Try to leave the questions, because the purpose of everything is to leave everything now. When you leave the questions now, sometime down the road you will leave the answers. And that's how I live, and that's now how I believe. And that's how I want to see the future.
That's a wonderful way to end this program tonight. I want to thank you for joining us on The Eclectic Viewpoint.